Public Works Committee. I'm joined by Bernie Flynn, Lisa Dorsey, Al Vinatelli from Works, Sean Mitchell, I don't see, Michael Finley, and Keith Karowski, Borough Manager, Mr. Perone. Going to go to item number 2, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda.
Darrell Cook, South. Why was the change made to the tree ordinance last year?
Specific.
Yeah, I don't.
There was only one change. It was concerning street trees and heritage trees, not getting the credit for stream protection fee.
Darrell, you always come up with a tail wagger. I have no idea what you're talking about right now because I wasn't prepared to answer that question. Mr. Thompson does live.
I'm not either.
Good to see you.
Why was the tree removed from the 300 block of South Walnut Street last week?
Don't know that.
I would suggest if you have tree questions, attend the tree commission meeting and ask them, or give us the questions ahead of time and we can have the answers for you. You're asking something that's outside the stadium that we haven't even prepared for.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Yes, Jordan Norley. I had a question about the recycling containers. Are we going to be without bags going forward at this point, or is that going to be a temporary thing?
We're going to be discussing this item 10.
Well, number 10 is a change to the ordinance potentially. I'm talking specifically about the containers as to whether we should have containers with lids or not. Right now, obviously, we have containers that don't have lids, and because of that, a lot of trash is ending up in the streets and those sorts of things. So my question, once again, is are we gonna are there not gonna be bags anymore at this stage for containers? And if so, if that's the case, do you think it's a good idea to have recycling containers that have lids?
Are you talking about like trash bags?
Yeah. So previously,
like kitchen trash bags,
right? So
in a trash can.
In a recycling container.
People aren't supposed to be doing that.
Right. So should we be having recycling? Should we be selling recycling containers without lids?
I don't know why not. I mean, it's.
Okay. Just noticing a lot of cans and stuff ending up in the
yeah. Ever since the recycler in King of Prussia mandated that we couldn't keep our recyclables in a plastic bag, it's turned into a mess in the alleys, because when the cans blow over, everything goes all over the place and everybody winds up picking up the recyclables twice. Now, the problem with that is if we put, and obviously I'm not a trash can expert, but I did weigh the plastic trash can, recyclable can that we have, which is about 3 pounds. I also have one that I think it's 35 gallons for the regular trash. That weighs empty 24 pounds. So if we put a lid on a plastic recycling can, I'm going to assume that one won't fit on the existing cans that we have, and we'd have to go into a type of 35-gallon can with a lid, which becomes extremely heavy. You're starting out at 24 pounds already, and we're going to cover some of the things with the the employees lifting and back problems that we're having with the recyclables. If we had a apparatus, which we do not, and it won't fit on our new trash truck, be able to lift the cans, it would be a very easy fix. The problem is our alleys are so narrow. I feel like I'm telling you something you already know. Our alleys are already so narrow, they can't pick up a recycling can or a trash can on the side where it would have to go. So it's going to be a problem trying to figure out how to change the recycling cans as they sit.
I would just ask that maybe Borough Council or Public Works potentially look into whether there's other options. You sure do. See if there might be some other options. I feel like it's not a good thing to have recycling all over the place on the ground and such. So I feel like this is probably a solution that's been solved before by other municipalities, and it might be worth a little due diligence.
Any other comments from, or questions from people in the, at the meeting? Item number 3, consider approving proposal from O'Donnell and Nacarado for structural design for repairs to Bicentennial Garage in the amount of $45,600. Mr. Vinatelli knows more about this than I sure do. Yeah.
We're looking to make improvements and repairs to the Bicentennial Garage, just similar to what we're doing at Chestnut Street Garage. And we recommending approval of the proposal from O'Donnell Nacarado for a 3-part proposal. Phase 1 is a condition assessment for $13,500. Phase 2 is for construction documents and bid documentation for $17,200. And the Phase 3 is the construction administration and inspection, which is $14,900. These are all based on hourly rates and not to exceed those numbers. But we're recommending approval to award this contract to them.
When would they be starting this if we approve this?
As soon as Borough Council votes on it and awards the contract, we would basically tell them to start the next day. The goal is to award the contract for construction on August 18th, trying to push this through so that we get it done in 2021.
Okay. Questions, comments? Lisa?
Were there other bids for this, or we're just going with this outfit?
We just got a proposal from O'Donnell Nacarado. They did the Chestnut Street Garage and they were familiar with that project. So they're specialists in the garage rehabilitation. So that's why we just asked them for a proposal. We went out for bids that would delay this project and put it at risk of not being done in 2021.
In addition to that, Lisa, we've had a professional relationship with them for a number of years. They also have helped us out with the litigation of the Chestnut Street Garage. I'm not saying they're the cheapest around, but probably the best professionally around when it comes to structural engineers and partners.
Mr. Perron, this is part of the budget. These expenses are already part of the 2021 budget.
Are there any questions or comments from people at the meeting? Okay with this? So it'd be a
Okay.
3-0 to move forward with this. Thank you. Item number 5, consider awarding parking garage stairway handrail repainting to M&A Coatings in the amount of $94,400. Do that all the time. Okay, item number 4, consider awarding sanitary sewer manhole rehabilitation bid to Structured Solutions LLC in the amount of $54,046, which is something we've done before.
This project, it was prepared by Panoni, and this project is being funded through a grant. It's a phase 2 of the water and sewer grant through DCED. I think we were awarded about $208,000. Phase 1 of the project was approximately $105,000. This phase, bids actually came in really low, and this bid is being recommended by Panoni to award to Structured Solutions at $56,460. Phase 1 was the lining of sewer pipes, and phase 2 is the lining of certain sewer manholes they felt were necessary.
Do you have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about this? This is a maintenance item that done in the past, so this is nothing new. So that'd be a 3-0 to proceed with item number 4. Now, item number 5. Painting the handrails in the parking garages to M&A coatings in the amount of $94,400.
If you recall, a couple months ago, or last month, we awarded the contract for Chestnut Street Garage. The handrail painting was on that as an alternate. Those numbers came on high on that bid, so what we decided to do was not award the alternate for the painting of the handrails and do a separate bid just for the painting of the handrails of both garages and repairs to those. And there was one bidder that submitted. His bid was at $94,400. It's actually very good price. We had a range on the Chestnut Street Garage. I think it was about $40,000 was one bidder, but the low bidder was actually over $100,000 just for the Chestnut Street Garage stairwell repaint.
If you've been in the garages, the handrails need to be repainted. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I spent about an hour on the phone with this company. First of all, I had to find out where 84 Pennsylvania was. It's actually a town. It's the name of the town. I had no idea. And we checked them out on Manus, and they have enough employees. And I called them and asked them what their scope of work is going to be, and they gave me their scope of work exactly the way it should be done. And I was very, very happy with their presentation. I did ask them to send us a copy of their work order so we know exactly how we could track them through. It's a very entailed project. They're going to take every ounce of rust and every ounce of paint off the handrails completely and put 3 coats of epoxy paint on the handrails. In the meantime, the only thing they're not sure of is, because Chestnut Street is so bad, whether there's going to be any metal repair needed, because once they start blasting with the aggregate, something just may destroy because of the lack of time that we've gotten there. But they're a top-notch company, and they're approved by PennDOT, and they're approved by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So they're a very good contractor.
And trust me, Bernie knows paint. So do you have any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about the repainting of the handrails? So that'd be a 3-0 recommendation to move forward with that. sure I'm on the right one here. All right, item number 6, consider accepting unit costs for purchasing of 2021 materials from Glasgow Incorporated. Again, this is more of a housekeeping issue, something we do every year.
Put this contract out annually, or get price quotes, I should say, annually. And we put this out. Glasgow was the only bidder that bid on it. They bid on both. It was bid as two portions: the asphalt materials and the crushed stone. And they submitted unit prices that were pretty similar to the previous year. So we're recommending approval of to use them for the provider of these materials.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Any questions? Lisa? Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions about this? This is basically all the stuff we need to fix things during the year. Okay. So it'll be a 3-0 to move forward with that. Item number 7, consider appointing DeRocco Brothers as the contractor, emergency services provider based on hourly rates submitted for the remainder of 2021 and 2022.
Again, we put this out to bid. It's essentially just for hourly rates in case of an emergency where our public works staff can't perform the work, or if there's an emergency situation of a sewer break or a sinkhole where it's not drivable, that type of thing, where we call somebody, a contractor, in for an emergency situation. So we submitted this, and just one bidder submitted. That was DeRocco Brothers. They're local. They're, I think, probably not even 5 minutes away. They're just across the borough boundary. So.
Again, this is something that we've done the last few years. It's very helpful at times. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, it's the new contractor that's going to be doing the snow removal. Last year, or this past winter, it was Eagle Contracting, but they didn't bid on this. But DeRocco got the contract for this upcoming year.
Any questions or comments from people here? Okay. This is almost too easy tonight. So it'll be a 3-0 recommendation for item number 7. All right, here comes the big one. Consider replacing a 2007 street sweeper at an estimated cost of $200,060. The machine we're using now would require $20,000 worth of repairs, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's a question of, is that money well spent or not, or whether we should move forward, because it's an old machine.
Yeah, the sweeper that went down needs the sweeper heads replaced, and that will cost about $20,000 to replace. It's a 2007 piece of equipment, so it's going on 15 years old. Our other one is 2016, so that's about, right now it's 5 years old. That actually needs some repairs also, but not to the extent of this. So it's just a matter of, our concern is that we're putting $20,000 into a 15-year-old piece of equipment. Probably only going to have it, so it's just a few more years. So it might be beneficial to just purchase a new one.
Is the 2007 one, is that functional at all?
2007 one is not functional, at least doesn't sweep. Cannot use it as a sweeper.
Okay.
Bernie,
It's not in the budget. We don't have any money for it. And it can't happen in 2021, unfortunately, unless we go out to a bank and borrow the money, we raise taxes immediately, or parking comes back over 100%. Unfortunately, we gave away parking as a council. Unfortunately, we gave away platforms as a council. We gave away something else too, and we keep giving things away. And when we do that, we drain the general fund. Unfortunately, as bad as I like to see our streets clean, unless council can come up with a funding idea, there's no money at all in the pot at all for $260,000 at all, unfortunately.
I'm aware that it's not in the budget. I just wanted to present this at this time. I have been looking into alternative financing options. I don't have concrete information on that yet or any details, but we're looking into it. And once I have better information, I'd present that at least as an option, just so you have it and that it can be considered, and or for even the future. So.
Well, the other thing we could do is contact Enterprise Leasing, and they'll lease that, they'll lease everything else. So I was,
Enterprise only goes up to a certain size vehicle. So for instance, a trash truck, the larger dump trucks that we have, sweepers, they do not, they're not involved in that. So we'd have to do separate purchases or leasing for that.
thank you. It's, my pockets look like rabbit ears. There's no money in the budget at all, sorry.
Lisa?
Well, there always is a way to do it. It's just whether we have, well, no street sweeper though. No, you can't have the street sweeper this year, but there's other ways of doing it. Because we do have the capital reserve, which if it's an emergency, that's what it's there for. Buying street sweepers, that's not one of them. That's not an emergency. But we do have a responsibility to our tenants because we have a lease with them, to do that. I'm sure there's some boards and commissions that may want to be able to give up some money that may not be used in the upcoming days. But, Mr. Perone, we need you to work some magic on this thing before we decide to even look at the capital reserve, which we don't ever want to touch that unless we have to.
So should we be discussing this in the Finance Committee?
they're looking for roughly about $30,000 to do all the necessary little repairs around. So, I mean, if you pinch it all down, you may get done for 20, but, you know, if you cut it short, that's what happens. You never get it completed. So they got to find it in some other pocket somewhere and some other bucket.
Mr. Braceland? I'm aligned with the comments that Mr. Flynn made around the budget and, you know, not having $260,000 to purchase it. But I'm wondering what the impact is to street sweeping in the borough if we're down one sweeper.
We can still operate, but it's going to be more difficult. Still operate with one sweeper.
Thank you. The $20,000 for the running store, I mean, that sounds like something that we're going to have to get creative and find the money, whether it's financing or reserves or fees.
We have to remember, it's not the finance committee, but I want to go on a little bit longer with it. We couldn't pay our bills at the end of last year because of COVID. And we had to go out and borrow a few $1 million. And that put us in a position where we have to, you know, have that paid back by the end of the year. And we have started to pay it back. But unfortunately, you know, what you don't want to do is go back to that well again. We want to tighten our belts, you know, and try to live within our means and, you know, and also stop giving things away. And hopefully parking comes back. So.
I really just wanted to make you aware of the situation, but, you know, the risk we run is that if the other sweeper goes down, then we have no street sweeping available. That could happen, hopefully not, I got wood. But, need a lot of helpers for that.
Does anyone in the audience have any comments or questions? So we're going to put this off. The repairs to the buildings should be further discussed, I would think. Like here and our store.
Well, we got to wait, probably by next week, Mr. Perone and Mr. Metric will come up with somewhere to do some budget modification from other line items that you know, we can find, you know, $20,000, $25,000, keep things going. Keep in the back of your mind, it's just the beginning of summer and things do break. Who knows what happened today with all that water?
Okay, item number 9, discuss using Adios organic weed killer in the borough parks. A number of years ago, we were using Roundup, if I'm not mistaken. We stopped doing that in 2017 because it's so toxic. This appears to not be quite the same.
Sure. Keith Karowski, Director of the Parks and Rec Department. I had this placed on the agenda for a couple of reasons. Our Greenfield Park, which is our heavily used sports complex, the infield is being overrun with weeds. That not only makes it unsightly, but it makes it unsafe for the kids that are playing down there. And then if you look at virtually any park that's got wood chips for their fall zones, the weeds are coming through at a significant rate. Bernie, who's been working with a lot of community service workers, you go down there, you have 5 kids pull for 5 hours, you don't get anywhere, and then guess what? They're back in a week anyways. So I went out and spoke to Mike Dunn, who's the borough's arborist, and I asked him what product he would recommend. This is the safest, most reliable organic product that he could find. He's used it before in the past, and I'm asking us to give it a chance to allow our public works department to be able to spray this where it's needed. Sorry, Bill, if you want to go back up to the first page. Down a little bit. I'm just trying to figure where we're at. Under restrictions, keep going. Keep going. Environmental characteristics. I thought that was some of the most important information. It's good for pets and livestock, no residual activity, meets USDA organic standards. It's approved for US organic gardening and approved for use in organic productions. So obviously they're putting this on, plants that are being consumed, and there's no issues or concerns with that. So just wishing you would give it a thought for us to allow to use it and move forward and hopefully get our parks back from the weeds.
Just based on assuming, how would you do the, use hand sprayers?
I didn't see the actual product itself. Don Anderson, one of the foremen, actually got this product. We actually have it ready to go, ready to use. From what I read in the instructions, yeah, it seems like that. You're going to mix it with water and some kind of, pump type spray thing and spray it where it's needed.
The one thing I didn't see on there was, because I know I'm going to be asked about this, is its possible effect on the water table.
That might be under the other specs. I'm not sure which ones we have up in this here, but all the restrictions and everything I've seen and been told about this product is that it has no issues, no effects on any person, or again, it could be a potential skin irritant. Well, so can certain kinds of soap. But I don't believe there's anything wrong with this product, and I think that's as safe of a product as there is on the market for us to be able to use.
Do you have any questions?
No,
Lisa?
if you could put on.
Basically salt. Yeah.
Yeah, put on eggs, make it a little salty.
And bicarbonate if you have an upset stomach. So you're good.
Yeah, it's, you know what? We were spraying 30% vinegar, white vinegar. It does take the plant, the surface plant down to brown, but it doesn't kill the roots. A week later, you're back doing it once again. If I could find real fast, I'll send Billy a picture of the infield at Greenfield, and it can be a real problem, and it's just an issue.
Does anyone in the audience have any comments or questions? So, got a 3-0? Okay, 3-0 to proceed with that. Item number 10, consider amending trash/recycling ordinance. Who's doing that?
Thank you. I appreciate your time and consideration on this item. So if you do a simple Google search, what you'll find is they don't make 30-gallon trash cans, standard trash cans for outside. They simply don't make them. They come in standard sizes, and the standard size closest to that is 32-gallon for recycling containers. Right now, recycling containers are allowed at the 30-gallon mark. So that's just a practical consideration there. And another question, that's a comment. The question is, what was the last time we amended this ordinance? How long has this ordinance been in place? Yeah. Okay. And then when did we start enforcing the 30-gallon versus the 32-gallon recycling container?
Recycling cans are 20-gallon.
Well,
The blue
they're
ones.
allowed up. Yeah, the ones sold by the borough are 20-gallon, but per the ordinance, there's 30-gallon size is allowed for recycling containers. So Sure, and I mean, the bags, that makes a lot of sense. I guess, was the enforcement of the 30-gallon versus 32-gallon, did that go on at that same time, the enforcement? Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, the size of the container, between 30 and 32 gallon, hasn't been an issue in the past, nor would it be an issue with Republic. Of course, the plastic bags are the issue, not 30 versus 32. And since the 30 versus 32 haven't been an issue in the past, since, this ordinance went into effect, or even before that, and the fact that they don't make 30-gallon containers for, trash can, for the people that want their own recycling receptacles. I think that it's reasonable to ask, considering we're a service organization and the amount of angst it's created with our residents, to either amend the ordinance to allow 32 gallons, since that, again, they're the only ones that are made, or just not enforce that again, which has traditionally been the case.
One of the big issues is the safety of our staff. And, we've all seen trash cans with the lid on it and, between the trash can and the lid. You don't see that quite as much with recycling, obviously, but it's a question of let's say when my sons are home, you're going to need a second recycling bin just for the beer bottles, and that gets heavy. So the other thing is containers are a little unwieldy, and I know because my neighbor 2 doors down was asking about it, so I went over and I didn't weigh it like Bernie did, but I was surprised as how heavy the thing was. And it's a little, I'm not an expert at that sort of thing, but it's a little difficult to maneuver. So, I mean, that's one of the big things, is the safety of the guys, to avoid, injuries. Every once in a while I'll see, somebody, because I know whenever the truck comes over our alley, if I hear it, I'll always go out and say hello. And I see a guy in a back brace, I'm like, uh-oh. So I think that's the reason why, and I think it's a reasonable ordinance. And being covered, being not, I don't know. Again, that's one more thing that the staff member would have to open up, I think, unless it just dumps and it opens on itself. But anyway, that's the safety of the guys is the thing that really concerns me.
Well, certainly we wouldn't be asking anyone to put an employee at any risk, but let's keep in mind that this is how we've been operating for the last forever. So the fact that that's being enforced now, that's what's new, that's what's changed. So somehow for the last how many ever decades, we've been okay with how it just not enforcing that and taking the 32 gallons. So again, I'd ask council to be reasonable. Amend the ordinance one way or another. They've got to amend it for trash, for sizes that are made. Further down so people don't buy a 32 gallon, because when they look for a 30 gallon, all they can find is a 32, right? Or, bend it down to something that's actually made, so people don't go out and buy something that's 2 gallons more thinking it's going to be fine.
They're $10 a piece, they're 20 gallons.
I mean, it's obviously a lot more convenient for residents to have, bigger single receptacles, and it's something that we've had in the past. So the real policy change here, if you went smaller, would be that. It would be smaller cans. But just by amending this to 32 and/or asking Public Works to just not enforce that like they have been for the last how many years, that is keeping it how it's been. That's the status quo. And they're fantastic, especially Gil.
Mr. Mayor, to respond to your comment, and like Ms. Dorsey, I got those green stickers and I paid $30. Yeah. And I went very quickly down to Public Works, and now I have 4 20-gallon recycling cans. I had to change my paradigm. The fact of the matter is, if we allow residents to just select type of containers they want to, it cuts down on the, first of all, efficiency. And it also allows for us residents to do what we want to do until we are told can't do it. As you mentioned, 30-gallon container is the maximum. If we talk about it any longer, I think it should, since the standard is the blue 20 gallons, and you can have as many as you want, that, I believe the safety of our employees, that's what we should do. So that's my feeling on it.
Okay. Sir, if you could give us your name, your address, and you need to push that button on the microphone to
I've been
talk.
instructed.
Okay.
My name's Timothy McGaw. I'm from 424 Dean Street, Westchester. This is an issue that's very close to my heart, and I think it's unfortunate. A lot of us are missing the point about what the issue is here. Now, this came to bearing about 6 weeks ago, beginning in May, when I too got a green sticker and did not have my recycling emptied. So I was surprised at that, and I thought it might be a mistake, so I put it out again the next week, and the next week the same thing happened. I contacted, I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Mr. Benetoni. We had a discussion. I did look into it. I am an environmental scientist by education, if not by trade. Commingled recycled garbage weighs 4 times less than garbage. So the average is 264 pounds per cubic yard. The average weight for garbage is over 1,000 pounds. I'm not saying it's bad to have a limit on these cans. And I think the world of our public works workers who come every week. I wrote to Diane Herron last year when she was still mayor, just making a point. what a great job they do, how courteous they are. And I certainly don't want them to get injured. All I'm asking for, excuse me, just switching thumbs. All I'm asking for is that we make the limit on the bin the same as the garbage can. Because we know from the EPA, the garbage can will weigh 4 times more, 35 gallons. You're not going to injure yourself lifting a recycling bin. It's not going to happen. Even as you pointed out, in some neighborhoods, these bins are filled with wine bottles. I wish mine was, it's not. But even if a 35-gallon bin was filled with wine bottles, it would weigh 32 pounds, still 18 pounds less than the limit. Now, my concern and why I'm so passionate is that what you're doing is forcing more plastic into the system. If I go out and buy 2 more plastic bins, how is that helping recycling? What do I do with my old bin? Do you know what I was told? Recycle it. So I'm recycling my recycling bin to make more plastic someplace else. We should be doing everything we can to maximize the recycling that we do, not make it more difficult for residents. All I'm asking for is to go to the same level as the garbage can, 35 gallons. You can buy those in the store. You can't buy a 30-gallon one. None of this really makes sense. It's maybe was a good idea to somebody a long time ago, but from a practical point of view, from an environmental point of view, it doesn't make sense. And I do not want the workers to get injured, but nobody's going to get injured lifting a 20-pound can with 12.5 pounds of recycling in it, especially when they're doing the same thing with the garbage can, which is way heavy next door. Now, there are a lot of people who have this problem. I went on to my next door, started the thread. I think we've had something like 150 responses. This is an issue. And I'm not worried about, sorry, am I boring you? I'm not worried about the cost of replacing my bin. I'm worried about the impact on the environment the enforcement of this illogical ordinance is going to have on Westchester. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could give us your name, your street address, and remember to push that button on the mic when you're talking. Okay.
Thanks. Eugene de Klerk, 426 Dean Street. Yeah, I just want to echo Tim's comments. I totally agree. I think that, I was out of compliance with the ordinance because I had a 32-gallon bin, which I went and bought pretty recently. I don't want to contribute to the recycling problem. I think it's unreasonable for residents to go down to a 20-gallon bin. I don't want to fill up my whole yard with 25, 20-gallon bins. I want to put a lid on it when it's in my property. And when I take it out to the street, remove the lid. It's dangerous to have a bin without a lid. Little kids our yard doesn't have a fence, can come in there, pull something out of the recycling, eat it, choke on it. I don't think it's safe. I want lids on recycling bins, so I manage my own lids, and then I take it out. So, to force me to have a 20-gallon without a lid, it's just unreasonable as a resident.
We did modify our bins as we are neighbors, and I cut the top off my bin, so it's now, I don't know if you can see the shape like this, recognize this? So that was a 32-gallon bin reduced to, it's about 28 gallons based on my mathematics. And Eugene did the same with his bin to reduce the size of it. These bins were still not picked up. What did the folks tell us here? They still say that they're 32-gallon bins, even though they can't hold 32 gallons. What's the logic? I could make a nice little sideline going around Westchester cutting down bins and save a lot of plastic. So not having a 35 limit is totally illogical. The content's way less. The bins can be the same size. People will not get injured lifting a recycling bin. Not when they're having to lift the same size garbage can. Thank you.
Hi, Will Williams. Just one point I'd like to make out. The difference between trash and recycling is trash is required to be bagged. So when our guys encounter a heavy trash can, they open the lid, they pull out a heavy bag, pull out another heavy bag, pull out another heavy bag, and empty the can that way. The recycling cannot be bagged, so you have to pick up the whole can. And as far as our employees and injuries, it happens all the time. So, there is evidence that heavy cans have adverse effect on our guys.
We've had 3 back injuries of our trash and recycle crews since I've been here in August, and I believe there's also one that just happened this week.
Were the injuries lifting recycling containers?
So,
Really? I'd like to see that evidence, please. Just to what the gentleman was saying about people picking out bags, this is true. If you see garbage collected, the workers will go and sometimes take a bag out, but you never have more than 2 large garbage bags in a garbage can. So if the contents weigh 4 times less, the bag's still going to weigh twice as much as the recycling can. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense.
Mr. Braceland? Yes. And Ms. Dorsey? I don't know how we go about doing this, but I'd like to make a recommendation somehow to amend the ordinance, 30 gallons down to 20 gallons. That way it'll all fit in the standard can that we have, that our employees feel safe lifting. It's all about inconvenience for us residents sometimes, but I think it's more important that we worry about the staff that we have out there that comes to our house every week. And if we, as the mayor had mentioned, we either go up or we go down. And standardization at 20 gallons is what we have now, cans that we have. I'd like to recommend that. I don't know your feeling on it, Ms. Dorsey, but that's my recommendation on it.
And what do you propose happens to all of those recycling cans all over the borough that now cannot be used anymore?
I don't have an answer for you right now, but they'll probably be recycled.
Into what?
Well, I guess Public Works will pick it up and recycle it to the general recycling company that we pay $98 a ton for, where we used to make $68 a ton. We have to pay for our recyclables to leave now at $98 a ton.
But again, you're missing the point. You're creating more recycling. You're creating more plastic. You're going to send people out to buy 2 or 3 more plastic bins, throw away their old ones. And you think this is a solution to the recycling issue?
Yeah, I do, because standardization increases efficiency. And if we have a standard and everyone follows the standard and doesn't do what they want to do, it'll be 20 gallons maximum.
So what happens if my 35-gallon garbage can does not use plastic bags? You're still going to pick that up, right?
We're talking about recycling.
Yeah, no, but if my garbage can weighs 50 pounds, that's not going to be an issue. You're saying that, but now I have to have an even smaller recycling can in case somebody hurts their back picking it up.
I believe I'm trying to remember, I believe our trash cans are 32 gallons. Am I correct? 35?
they're up to 35.
35, okay.
But again, they bags individually, it's too heavy.
What do you think, Ms. Dorsey?
So I've listened intently to everyone. I think everyone's had valid points. I hear the recycling. I hear that, this is not something that we've been enforcing forcefully for some time. Yeah, I know this because I have a 32-gallon recycle bin and I haven't gotten a sticker. Been a resident for 29 years. So I think this requires more discussion. We've heard a lot from residents. We've heard, it's been in the newspaper. I don't know that 20 gallons is the answer. I think we need to consider, the public works workers and the impact that it has on them. I don't think it's something that we can make a decision on tonight. I think it requires additional discussion.
I just want to make one comment. If you move it down to 20 gallons, you're forcing residents to buy your bins. No manufacturer manufactures a 20 gallon. That's not free market economics. That, you know, that's you forcing us to buy a bin from you. You know, that, but you potentially opening yourself up for a suit. So, I mean,
On the screen, there's a 20-gallon container on Amazon.
And essentially, I mean, nothing would change. We're not trying to,
The one on the right is a 32-gallon container. One on the right. And that's on Amazon.
it seems the bottom line is that some people want the bigger containers. And we have an established system that is working pretty nicely. The business about recycling plastic, I was heavily involved in the plastic bag ban last year and the banning of straws. So I have, a fair amount of knowledge about this. The other thing is, if everyone has 32-gallon cans like that with the lids, and you want to spend all that money on it, fine, but that's plastic too. It's made out of the same stuff the other is. So, it's 6 1/2 dozen of the other.
I'm just saying, I don't have a problem with you having a 20-gallon limit. I'm just saying, let's grandfather the bins that are out there. Maybe put a special sticker on. They existed before this enforcement started. Let's not put all these bins back into the recycling system, into the plastic ocean. Doesn't make any sense, guys.
How do you grandfather those? I mean, how do you keep track of it? I could buy one tomorrow and say, oh, I've had this for 2
Sure,
years.
I'll tell you how. Next Thursday or whatever, instead of putting green stickers on everything, you put a little gold star on everything with Westchester approved. And after that, anything else that comes new that doesn't have that sticker, then you can put out your summons or your tickets or whatever.
Do you have a feel for how many of these type bins there are? I'm asking a question. Do we have any idea how many of these bins are in the borough?
I don't have a number. Maybe Gil might be able to give that number, but I know that number's not very large. We did have people who were non-compliant that have purchased the smaller 20-gallon containers, quite a bit actually. So I think that number is very much down that are non-compliant now.
Jill, do you have any comment by any chance?
Sorry. Gil Robinson, Public Works. I see everybody's point here. I think you're kind of missing the one point of the recycle is piled high in the cans. That's what's blowing in the streets. That's what we need to try to resolve, is that problem. I understand everybody's point, so I'm gonna stay neutral a little bit. But we need to look at the point of keeping the borough clean. And I think that's the best way, is trying to cut the recycle down from blowing all over the place as well. So you guys have to make that decision. Sorry. Thanks.
Lisa, how do you feel about grandfathering?
I would support that. I mean, we just heard from Mr. Robinson and he didn't mention the weight of the basket, of the trash cans, of the recycle bins. Okay. Okay. Um, I would support grandfathering the 32 gallon. Seems like there's a lot of them out there.
It's a very difficult thing to do. I think maybe what we should do is have our sustainability guy, Bill Williams, do some research for us. Mr. McGraw gave us his research, and I think we should kick it back maybe to our sustainability department, have them come up with a suggestion.
That makes sense.
Yeah, to me too. Why don't we do that? Okay, Will, did you heard that? You okay with it? All right, so that's what we're gonna do. You want to say something?
Yeah, just I found there are lids for 20-gallon containers for so yes. So and I don't and these are for the Rubbermaid ones. I'm not saying that they fit our ones. What I'm saying is if we're looking at this, might as well look at it, and it would be nice if we could solve, you know, two birds with one stone. That's all. And another suggestion is if we don't do grandfathering, perhaps, and we do go down to 20, perhaps there can just be a credit or an exchange. Give them two 20-gallon ones for 32, drop it off, pick up the other ones, whatever, something like that. But otherwise, we're going to have a lot of angry residents. We already do, but whatever we can do to minimize that, I think, is prudent.
Yeah, based on what Will Williams comes up with, I like your idea of a trade-in for the recycling cans. That makes sense. That way there, it doesn't cost the resident anything and they become compliant.
One more thing, you got to order a lot of them.
Yeah,
Because what we don't want to do is be out of them,
exactly.
like we
Yeah.
have in the past.
Yeah.
When people go to pick them up when they're getting violated.
Yeah.
So we need to just make sure we have an inventory.
But I do like that trade-in thing. Will, include that in your theory.
You know, I'll tell you what, if somebody wants a second can or a third can, call me. I'll bring it to your house. I was doing that with the mosquito dunks last year. Be perfectly happy to do it with these things. I'm retired. Sometimes I get bored during the day, so avail yourself of that. Okay, so we're going to have Mr. Williams work on that, and perhaps we can have something next month to discuss or some recommendation. Okay, item number 11, discuss compost pilot grant opportunity. I'm not familiar with this. You got to just stay there, you know?
Sorry, guys, I've been busy this
It's always
month.
good to see you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome to our meeting.
So, I mean, there's a grant opportunity through Chrissy Houlihan's office for $45,000 to $90,000 for a pilot program for composting, food waste reduction. We've done a couple composting pilot programs in the past. None of them has stuck. We had a call today with Will Williams and about 10 other sustainability oriented folks. And the deadline is July 17th. So it just appears that there's not really enough time to put together a program and a grant application that would be competitive at this stage with the deadline coming up July 17. But what the suggestion from Will was is that to go to the Sustainability Advisory Committee and start the discussions in earnest as to coming up with a real compost program, a curbside pickup kind of compost program, potentially, you know, for next year, something along those lines, and be ready for the next opportunity, and not for Public Works to pick up, but probably a third party. It's becoming a lot more common. There's some industrial scale, commercial scale compost operations now, not in Chester County, but in Berks and Lancaster County. So it's becoming more and more available, and there's a lot of benefits to a municipality besides the environmental benefits, like reduction of cost for trash going into the landfill, those sorts of things. So long story short, we really don't have time to put something together. But we'll be working, and the Sustainability Advisory Committee will be working to come up with a proposal to council at some point down the line to hopefully be able to put something in place.
Is this similar to the, I think the restaurant pickup that we did a few years ago? Is it the same principle?
Same principle. That one was just 10 restaurants, and we were putting them over at Longwood Gardens, and we had so much that they're like, stop, we can't handle it anymore, because the grant money, I guess, dried up for that as well, and Longwood Gardens didn't want to get into the compost selling business, so they just like shut us down, and it's basically where it's been. So instead of having another pilot program, let's find a sustainable solution that we can actually keep going. Was the general consensus.
Yeah, Denise Polk, councilperson Denise Polk,
Yeah.
and the university, there was a person from the university that was actually doing it, because Westchester actually does the composting. And they're both were on the connected with sustainability. Like you said, Longwood Gardens, we generated too much waste and it had to be shut down. But it's extremely viable. When I was young, that's last week, we used to have a galvanized bucket because there was no garbage disposals. You had to put your garbage in a galvanized bucket and put it out with the trash. And oh my goodness, that was a joy, following that guy around town. But they were recycling back then, composting with the garbage itself. So it was good.
Yeah, I like it. It could be, whether we can do it or not, but partnering with the green team to some extent might be helpful, because I know they're into that stuff.
Several of them were involved
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this conversation. And
Yeah.
yeah, Courtney Finneran and Denise Polk were heavy into the last aisle.
I forget the woman at the university. Ashley, I think it is.
Oh, Ashley Delshad. Okay.
Is that who it is? I think that's who it is, yeah. Lisa.
I would support that.
Keep on pushing the ball forward. There's, in concept, there's no vote.
In concept, yes, no vote. 3-0 to support the concept. The May minutes seemed okay to me. Huh? Yeah, okay. Number 13, adjourn. Thank you, everyone.